Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I'm really happy to welcome Stephen Mooney to Word Balloon. And as I was telling you off there, Stephen, I'm a longtime fan, so welcome.
Oh, cheers, man. Likewise, longtime fan.
Well, that's kind, man. Half Past Danger is so exactly the kind of comic book I'm always looking for. Seriously, man. I am a sucker for the same influences you are. Great foreign intrigue, action. I know Indiana Jones is an influence, but I know too that really the old Monogram films and some of the other old, second tier movie companies that would grind out these kinds of stories and stuff. No, you had me at hello when I first saw Half Past Danger years ago.
I appreciate that. It's crazy how many people are of the same mind. I mean, you know as much about comics or more than I do, so you never know if you're going to find an audience for any of these what you would call more niche books. It is, like you say, a B-movie role kind of a situation, so it's whether it lands or not is a big it's such a scary prospect. But it's going on, I think, 8 years since the first series now, and it's still going strong. Yeah,
that's fantastic, man. No, people who don't know your work, and I don't know if you're able to share your screen and show any artwork of anything. And if you aren't, I can
hold some pages up as it.
There you go. Well, we can do that. Absolutely. And, honestly, I'll bring up the tab for the Kickstarter for the Half Past Danger Christmas special.
Please.
I know you got just over a week as we're recording left.
That's right. Yeah.
But it'll take me a second to bring it up, but I'll bring it up and I'll be able to share the screen. But seriously, man, fans of The Rocketeer, like we said, Indiana Jones, I'm
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic, yes, indeed. Well, and also I must ask, because I'm a huge fan of Mark Schultz as well. Were you a Mark Schultz reader?
Yes, man. I've got all the artist editions and everything behind me. I have every edition ever printed of that book. He's one of my art gods, really. Yeah, I mean, Stevens as well, Dave. Those kind of that tier of guys are just, they blow my mind. I'm aspiring to be somewhere adjacent to their level. I still haven't got there, but I mean, I'm shooting for the stars. But yeah, you're talking my language. Those guys are my formative years, big time.
That's cool, man. No, seriously, I think, again, from a modern standpoint, your stuff stacks really nicely next to their stuff. And it definitely scratches that itch. And isn't it interesting, man? Because, I wish there were more adventure books like that. Did you work for Cliffhanger when it was still an imprint?
No, I adored the imprint, but I came up a little bit after that. I bought all their books, the Ramos, Campbell. I mean, Danger Girl was a big one as well. And Madeira stuff as well. It's just, it really, like you say, scratched that itch. But I was Wildstorm was one of those places where if I just got there in time, I'd love to be a part of that. I'm still a big grifter guy. The fact that he's coming back in Batman is nice. So we'll see how they handle it. But I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic on that one. But all that stuff, huge fan. Yeah. That two-fisted.
That's cool, man. No, yeah. Have you read, Toth's Torpedo or any, that kind of classic stuff as well?
Yes. I have all Toth's stuff. I think I have everything printed in English. I sure have it. And some of the stuff, the European stuff, it's harder to get. I have that too. Another big influence. Another, I don't know how many, several 100 steps above me he is, but certainly someone I aspire. His pure storytelling, it doesn't get better than that.
I'm with you, man. I absolutely. What was it? It was Torpedo, but also.
Brene was on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Brene, I'm thinking of probably more. So, they both did Torpedo, I think.
Yeah.
And then, what was Toth's big action adventure character?
Well, there was Zorro. I mean, obviously, it was
sure.
One that I was, but other than that,
his name is something or something for adventure. I can't even remember it now. I'm totally blanking. Maybe somebody watching will remember or look it up.
Yeah. Help us out. We're old.
No, I'm with you, man. And Owen is mentioning Zorro. Another Irish guy that I've talked to recently, Owen Macaulay, and his Irish Zero comic that he's doing online. I think it's fantastic. So
I did Phantom with Owen for a ways back. So that kind of all that adventure folk stuff. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. No, honestly, I've all the Irish creators I've met. I'm a big fan of all of them in terms of their work, and you guys are all good dudes. So it's cool. Owen was going to try and get me over to the Dublin con that he.
Oh, really?
Yeah, is that Dice, or I'm trying to remember now?
Dice used to be the show that was run. That was the Big Bang store that ran that, but that has wrapped up for the minute. It's the Dublin Comic Con. I think it's Dublin City Comics Collectibles are affiliated with that, but it's a great show.
Oh my God!
It's actually getting to be a really, really reputable show. You know what I mean? They're bringing some serious people over. Ron Mars was there last time. I would love to see you. Yeah, we'd take you out for dinner, man, if you get over. Myself and Beck, we took Ron and the lads out last time. It's fun.
It's been 20 years since I've been in Europe, and I really am like, God, I realized that when I was renewing my passport. I'm like, oh man, I missed that so much. I really loved going. And God, Owen was so sweet. We met at New York Comic Con, and he's like, oh, we'd love to have you. I'm like, Jesus, are you kidding me? So hopefully when the virus cures, it'll be great to see all you guys over there.
Well, you've got some tour guides good to go, so we see you. We'll take you out. You might have a hangover the next day, but
I think I can handle it. It's all right, man.
When in Rome.
Awesome. Exactly.
He says drinking his whiskey. I'm such a cliche.
It's all good, man. Hey, it's 9. It's certainly later in the evening. It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. here. I'm golden.
So you're all good. Absolutely, man. Give people the 10-cent pinch. They can kind of figure out what Half Past Danger is about from the way we've been talking. But yeah, just give it your best spiel.
Okay. Well, it starts out as a pretty straight-laced World War II adventure yarn, like the Howling Commando style stuff. With this, our main guy, the protagonist, his name is Tommy Flynn, or Irish is what his platoon mates call him, because he's the only genuinely Irish guy in the squad. So they're in the South Pacific Theater in 1943, and on one of those myriad random islands that, whether they existed or they didn't, they're always in those World War II tales where there's the Lost Valley aspect, and then lo and behold, they stumble across some dinosaurs. Or monsters, as they think. They're not really up on their, Cenozoics and Mesozoic and all the rest. But then they realize that the Nazis are actually there and the Japanese ahead of them, and they're trying to weaponize these dinosaurs. So it's a very, very fantastical premise. But then all the best ones of those matinee serials were always ridiculous as a premise. It's all about the MacGuffin. But it's the characters and the scenarios and the cliffhangers and the action set pieces that really sell that stuff for me. So I think where Half Past Danger excels, or where I as a storyteller excel, is coming up with those adventure yarns that maybe don't happen, like you say, in comics so much anymore for whatever reason. And it seems to be scratching the itch of a lot of people. I mean, a reasonable amount of people. I mean, it's not the biggest selling book the world has ever seen, but for a creator-owned book, it does pretty well. So that's what I grew up on. And all the time, while I was at whoever, Marvel, DC, whoever, I always wanted to be working on a book like that. So, you hear the cliche, that book didn't exist, so I made it for myself. And so far, so good. So yeah, like I say, indie, Jurassic Park, it's very Spielbergian roller coaster style of action. There's always a fist fight around the corner. There's always a surprise. There's femme fatales, there's ninjas, there's Nazis, there's dinosaurs. It's all, I mean, you get it all and you throw it there and you see what happens. And so far, it's not a mess. So far, so good. Yeah.
No, honestly, man, I think it's entertaining as hell, and I like your cast. I was just saying this to Matt Fraction too and Terry Dodson about their new pulpy Adventure Man. Now yours is set in World War II, and really, again in modern eyes, some of the depictions can get a little, lousy with stereotypes back then. But that's the great thing, man. We could take the best of the pulp tropes and tell better stories with stronger characters of all sexes and colors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hence the Japanese ninja and the British femme fatale on the team, and then we've got the American, the Captain America for the better phrase, and then the Irish boy kind of dragging them all down, which is basically based on me. So I went in with this crazy wish fulfillment aspect of my very, very, very initial premise was, what if Stephen Mooney was best friends with Captain America? And I just was doodling this and writing a few paragraphs, and it turned into a major publication. So, I mean, reach for the stars, kids. Your nonsense may make it out there, Mind
Dude, God, like I said, I'm glad you're drawing it, because you made this book for me as well, man. I get it. Who were like old movies, and obviously Indiana Jones, I guess, now does qualify as an old movie, being 40 years old. But as far as that old retro stuff and everything, old Hollywood. What were some of your influences?
Well, I mean, all the kind of like the Treasure of the Sierra Madre stuff, like where there was like kind of the same archetype as indie, and then indie is based on all those guys from way back. But us kids didn't know that, obviously. But then even Tintin, I grew up on Tintin, which was a huge influence on Spielberg for Indiana Jones,
Yes.
like the Hergé stuff. It's the same kind. I mean, he's a reporter, but it's all roller coaster, rock'em sock'em, set piece to set piece. A character blows in, gets in a scrap, he's defeated. Next guy's here, gets in a scrap, same again, boom, bang, bang, bang. Like that stuff. I mean, going way even to the cartoons I watched as a kid, the old Filmation stuff, even the Fleischer Superman stuff. That design sense is just beautiful. Like, I mean, you try and bring that a bit back into the modern day with some sensibilities from now, and marry it, and hopefully there's something that comes out on the other side is palatable to people. It's not easy to do, otherwise everyone would be doing it. Like, I mean, but it's so enjoyable to do because it's everything. That's all my favorite stuff. Everything is in there.
I hear you, man. No, and let's, you've come out with 2 volumes through IDW, and I'm glad that happened. Now, for the Christmas special, explain the Kickstarter.
Well, that was the question. Well, first, during the pandemic, I got on my current book for one of the bigger publishers. I got my pencils down like so many other people did. So that was, I don't know, mid-March, I guess, at this point that was. So I had, my initial concern was we have a 2-year-old toddler. So, and because the daycare, everything was closed, we were at home working and looking after him. So work was kind of pushed back from my mind. I knew I had this book waiting for me whenever everything picked up again, 6 months down the line, or Jesus, we still don't know how far down the line, whenever that does pick up again. But it got to the point where I started to think about, income is becoming an issue. So what do I do? Is there anything I have in my pocket that I can do for 2 or 3 months that's self-contained and I can put out there myself? And that's what, you straight away your mind goes to crowdfunding and Kickstarter, which is something I was aware of, but had never really considered before because I've been in traditional publishing for guts of 20 years now. And you never want to ask somebody, like, as an idiot, at the start of those, like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, I had kind of said, is that asking people for money? Is it a charity service, or what is that like? So I had steered clear, and that was me being stupid. It's not. What it is it's basically a print to order service, where if I get 1,000 orders for this book, I have to print and make 1,000 copies of this book, and they pay their $10 or whatever it is, and they get this book. So, it's not that different. Same price would be in the store. It's just my own mind playing on me. So once I got over that aspect, I really did some research and figured out the ins and outs of this thing and what I stood to make, what I stood to lose. And then the boys, Declan and Sliney and Nick Roach, all the other Irish guys were sitting on their hands a little bit too. So I kind of roped them in to do stories with me. So it's actually turned out this book is it's like a state of the art kind of artifact of the Irish professional comics right now, which is a nice byproduct because we're all very close over here. Dec well, I know, and a few of the lads. So we like to spend our time together and take the piss out of each other. I shouldn't say that as well. Extract the urine, we'll say. But it's a good time. And the reason Kickstarter is because the publishers IDW weren't keen on doing any one-shots of the current climate because it's not a surefire thing. Unless I was offering them a Batman one-shot or an X-Men one-shot, they were a little bit shy about it, which is fair, totally fair. So I decided I'd try this myself. And I've often been curious about what does it take to self-publish a book. So that's basically, I'm the editor on this whole thing. There's 7 different stories in there.
Sorry, buddy. That's my apartment. You continue your story, and I will turn my microphone off and answer the door. I apologize.
No worries, man. You got post coming. So that's what it was. Basically, I wanted to see if it was viable. Turned out it was. Turned out people were into the idea. We launched the first day we covered our bases, which is such a relief to be able to know the book is happening from day one. Then you've got your month's worth of funding to come in, which will give you hopefully the biggest, sweetest version of the book as possible, which is where all the extra stories come in and stretch goals and things like that. So currently we've just gone through the second stretch goal. So I don't know how many bonus stories in we are now. We're getting close to it being a 60-page graphic novel as opposed to a 48-page special for the same 10 books you paid initially, which I think is as good a deal you're going to find anywhere. Put on that salesman hat. I'm happy with it. So far, so good. And listen, I'm doing this show and other great shows like David Harper's show, like really proper comic book shows that are actually journalistic and talk about the craft and the book. This is the kind of thing that I want to do to get that word out there. So thanks again for having me on.
Are you kidding? No, man. And it's great to
It's a pleasure.
I'm glad you're talking to David as well. I like David's show a lot, and that's terrific, man. No, hey, dude, it's a quality book. I'm having trouble bringing up the Kickstarter, so I will solo you out, and you could show some pages. But God, it's a shame. Now I know Jody Belair did the last 2 volumes. Who's your current colorist?
A lady called Trina Farrell. She's an Irish colorist. She's on a spread of Marvel books now. She did Runaways, and she's West Coast Avengers and lots of other books like that. She's excellent. Tamara Bonvillain did some of the last one as well. So the levels I've got on this thing, like, they're making me look good. You know what I mean? They're bringing me right up. So obviously Jordy, amazing. So yeah, I've had some serious women working on this book with me. Like, and it's just smart to surround yourself with girls anyway. So it's a win-win.
Seriously, Jordy's a great colorist, and what I've seen so far on the new volume and stuff looks amazing as well. So that's terrific. And truly, I mean, that's the shame of it in terms of, I don't know if you have anything in color you want to show, but
I will be honest with you, I don't know how to share my screen. I have
even if you were as you were holding up the pages,
well,
there,
just
we could
inks,
do that. But yeah, for some reason, it's not working for me to share. So I got you solo
scene,
now.
This is a scene of there's a flashback to Guadalcanal. One of the characters, John Noble, he has a squad over in the South Pacific. So there's flashbacks. The Christmas special, the way that it's working is there's Moss, our femme fatale lead.
Lovely.
The way that it's working is we're doing people are just sharing their Christmas stories, and we're doing flashbacks for each of the main characters. So it's a standalone. I wanted to do something that was
that's a great idea.
Any reader could pick it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't have to have read the previous 2 volumes, because you don't want to take that risk where it's super continuity heavy and then you're alienating half your audience. So while it does have a lot of nods to people who are up to date on the storyline, it's still very standalone. It's just, and I love Christmas stories, man. I know it's not in vogue or PC to say how much you love Christmas anymore, but I adore Christmas, and I adore the feeling that it invokes. And I really we used to get these annuals in Europe, we call them. They were like a hardback 60-page version of a couple of US issues of whatever book, and I devoured those as a child. So that's what I'm trying to echo those and evoke those feelings with this book. And to be honest with you, I mean, when you've got people the quality of Deck Shall Be Sorry, and Gus Liney, Nick Roach, and all the other Irish professionals, it's going to look excellent. Yeah. And I'm doing the lead. The lead story is about 25 pages. That's me. And then we've about 25 pages of the other guys. So that's a serious chunk of story. Yeah. For 10 books.
Yeah, 50 pages for $10. No, and honestly, Stephen, that's this has been the recurring conversation with creators that either faced pencils down, or I just talked to Brubaker, and he was saying too that just all the warehouse. Well, I mean, I guess all of it was connected to Diamond shutting down. But yeah, man, no, it literally, like, everybody lost a quarter, and that's a lot.
Basically, yeah, it's huge. I mean, in your fiscal year, obviously, without talking about numbers, it's a massive loss of revenue. So there, you have to find ways to circumvent that, which is brass tacks. Is why I'm doing this book. I mean, it is a book I'm in love with, and I'm pouring my heart into it. But I also need to live and pay the mortgage. So,
sure.
Like so many other comic book creatives, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to balance.
Will it eventually be something that you will sell to stores, or is that already absolutely part of the plan anyway?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this today. It will be. I have the option of arguably putting it out as a special, but I'm thinking because it's standalone, I'm gonna wait a year and put it out Christmas of next year, just so it feels like the Kickstarter was a little bit more of an exclusive.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, you want people to feel like they've supported something and they got in on the ground floor, and it is due to those backers that the book is happening. But there is my German publisher is. People are so tickled by the fact that it's big and it's in Germany and it's full of
that's ironic.
German soldiers, let's call them. But I'll take it all day long, and they love Christmas over there. So it'll be done in Germany, and then it'll be in the States, in direct market in the States following Christmas. Okay. So yeah, that's what it starts. Yeah,
that's great, man. No, that's fantastic. Well, like I said, no, I've been a supporter and read your other 2 volumes. And seriously, man, it's like guys like you. I'll read a book and be like, God, that's amazing. And then I'll suddenly look up, like you said, God, it's been 8 years. I don't think I got it right away, but I know I saw it in a comic shop, and I'm like, oh, Christ, this is exactly what I want. And so I got, the first volume that way. Then I did get volume 2. But yeah, it's like, oh, I should talk to him. And then suddenly I realized, it's been like years since I Half Past Danger. So this is great to finally talk to you, man. And also, I want to talk about some of the other things you've done.
Sure, man.
Oh, we'll get to Star Trek. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay. Well, whatever you got, I'm ready. So
No, it's all good. And truly, yeah, we'll talk Star Trek now, and we'll talk about Bombshells and your other publisher work in a second. But we may as well keep it in IDW. Hey, man, honestly, I love the Star Trek IDW product. It's been great from day one, and I like. Tell me about the Waypoint story that you did.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to do that book. The editor there, Chase Martz, editorial and Trek are great at IDW. I've worked in a lot of departments over there. Ryle was my guy for a long time, but obviously he's moved on since.
Right.
So I'm working with other people since, and Sarah Gatos was there for a long time.
Yes, I've had Sarah on. She's terrific.
She's a great lady, yeah. So she was, I think she was, or maybe Chase gave me Waypoint. I can't remember how it happened, but I'm a big TOS guy in the original series. I grew up, my dad used to, that's Irish for love. I have a love for that.
Oh yeah,
long time.
That's an old '60s. I grok Spock grok.
Grok, yeah, no, Gra, G-R-A-5 is the Irish one.
Oh, hilarious!
It's like understand, isn't it? I don't know.
Oh, I see. Forgive me. I appreciate the clarification. For you. No, we're learning. It's all right.
So yeah, big TOS guy. I mean, I loved all the shows, but I was a big original series guy. So I had been. And when Waypoint came up as a series prospect, they had let a lot of the people in the Star Trek office know that this was happening. And I was, at that point, trying to do more writing and drawing as well, since Half Past Danger, as opposed to just drawing, which had been my whole career up to that point. So they asked me what I was interested in doing, and I was like, I want to do a McCoy story. It's funny, as a kid, Kirk was always my guy because he's the rock'em sock'em action hero. But the older I get and the grumpier I get, McCoy is my guy, like DeForest Kelly all day long. So I was like, I want to do a love story with for McCoy because he was never lucky in love in the show. So they let me do that, and it was called Hearts and Bones. So it was about McCoy falling for a Vulcan officer, basically a female Vulcan officer, which obviously really royally pissed him off because those green-blooded hobgoblins or whatever you want to call them. He's not their biggest fan. So basically, McCoy had to ask Spock for advice on women, which is. He's never going to want to do that. So there was a comedic edge to it, but I played it pretty straight, and I just enjoyed the hell out of doing it. I love those characters so much.
I'm with you, man.
I got offered, when I did Half Past Danger, it was successful, and I got offered a good few of the pulpy books. I got offered the Phantom book. I got some Mandrake offer. I got offered all that kind of stuff that in that wheelhouse, which is great because I love those. But unless it was a character that I knew intimately, I was always reluctant to take on. Like I wouldn't be a kind of writer at that level who can just on spec write for it. Like you couldn't throw me a Doctor Strange book and I'd have a story good to go. I'd have to have read his run. I'd have to know the character well. But Trek was like that. I was like, as soon as they said, I was like, I can write that story. I could write a series of this story. And the reviews were great and it was very popular. So I was really happy to do it. I would absolutely do more. I love the guys over there in the Trek office. And anything I can write and draw, I always enjoy. So yeah, it was great fun to do that.
I hope you get more opportunities. As I say, from Sarah to the current regime and stuff, it's great, great stuff. And I've been meaning to talk to Jackson Lansing and the Tiftons.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. Mostly I've talked to JK about his work.
Yeah, the art, lovely stuff. Yeah, so, I think Jody, my old writer, Jody
Hauser, sure,
some Trek stuff as well. Like there's a lot of people.
To Jackson, I saw her at Rose City. And she's been on, actually, she's just done a month or so ago with a bunch of friends. And I'm like, hey, Jody, let's talk Star Trek. She's like, yeah, honestly, she goes, talk to Jackson. She's like,
oh, really?
I'm co-writing with Jackson. And he's kind of the lead writer on that. But no,
she knows her stuff, though. She should have, she's maybe not as confident about it, but she knows her stuff.
Or she maybe, just trying to give Jackson a leg up or whatever.
True.
And, that's cool, But no, it's all right. And I'll tell you, like, with my we'll talk Star Trek. Maybe it's certainly Word Balloon listeners might be a little sick of this discussion, and right. you're not obligated to give an opinion. But new Star Trek just frustrates
I've got opinions, my friend.
Frustrates the shit out of me.
How honest are we being here?
It's your call, Stephen. I don't want to cost you any jobs. So I don't think IDW has.
I don't think they'd mind.
Cool,
there's a lot I do like about them. There's a lot I do like about the show. They look gorgeous. The production values are obviously there's a ton of money put into them.
I agree.
I'm not the overall tone of them probably isn't for me though. When I watch Star Trek, I want to see a hopeful tone. I want to see some discovering. I like the Planet of the Week, the old school aspect.
I agree.
I find it a bit overwrought. I think there's a little too much emotional wrangling in every episode. I mean, somebody's crying every 20 minutes, and I can see the value of that. There's an audience for that, but I'm not the audience for that. You know what I mean?
I do.
For me, I want to see a landing party. I want to see them find their salt vampires or whatever crazy, wacky element they find that week. I mean, I'm a huge TNG guy. Picard, I had very mixed feelings about because he's my guy, Picard, and I thought it started off pretty strongly. I liked the pilot episode. The Irish Romulans were brilliant, but then I did think it lost its way. The writing seems to be, let's say, scattershot.
You're being very generous. I agree, and I think really both Discovery and Picard, there's a lot of bad writing, and I also think, like you said, I was intrigued by the beginnings of Picard. It definitely lost its way. It clearly was rewritten halfway through.
There's no doubt. For me, Picard was supposed to die at the end of that show, but I guess they decided the second episode to last is this. We have this body he can be transported into. He won't be super strong. He will still age, so he's not really an android, but let's just call it an android. And series 2. So
I guess again, it just seems so hokey, and as I'm sure you feel as well, Star Trek always led as far as being interesting story ideas and going in interesting places, story and character. And I really feel like, sadly, the people that run Star Trek are almost playing at it and just too influenced by the things that came after. The little Blade Runner here, there's a little Battlestar Galactica in here, various things like that. And I'm just like, Star Trek didn't need that. It was always its own thing, even in the face of Star Wars and other direct competition,
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. I mean, I can see what they were trying to. And listen, there's obviously a big audience for that because Discovery's like another season greenlit already, right? That's season 3.
Well, yeah, we're getting season 3 in a few weeks. It'll be interesting to see that. I mean, I don't think anything is set, and certainly nobody's shooting. We'll see. We'll see. I have a feeling because.
Oh, you're skeptical, are you?
Yeah, as far as the season 4, I really am. I just think it divides the audience too much, and I think if I don't know what the international numbers are, but it seems like, and I know it's a strong show for CBS's primary, North American streaming service, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, and it's an expensive show. And it also, it seems like Netflix isn't happy with it. And Netflix, they usually stop at 3. They usually stop at 3 seasons unless it's a mega hit. And I don't think Discovery's a mega hit necessarily. So we'll see.
I mean, you want it to do well though, because it means more Trek shows. If this happens, that's the end product. So
yeah,
and I mean, go on. I was going to say, like so many guys, I'm a fan of Pike. I've got this Enterprise show. They're talking about going the hopeful route. They're talking about going old school with it. So I'm very optimistic about that. I mean, I've been very optimistic about all the shows going in.
I'm the same way, honestly, Stephen. Yeah. I feel the same way. And I am. Pike was one of the best thing about Discovery season 2. And I'm excited for the prospect of a Pike show that is also going to be Planet of the Week again and more episodic. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, until it's out there, and I'm hopeful, but we'll see. But I also believe, especially what's been happening up top of Viacom and CBS, that they know Star Trek has an audience, and they recognize that half the audience doesn't like new Trek. So what's the problem? I mean, that's like there's great potential there. So even if things don't work out for Alex Kurtzman and the people that produce Secret Hideout, the production company in charge of all the new Trek that we see on TV, I don't think they give it up. I mean, all word is, especially Sherry Redstone, the main person at Viacom, she knows the potential of Star Trek. So I don't think I really think literally they'll invite more people in, and we'll see what happens because the merger just finally happened at the end of last year, too, of Viacom and CBS. It was stupid when they were broken up. But anyway, blah, blah, blah.
What happened to Mayer's involvement, Nicholas Meyer? Is that Cannes show torpedoed now? Because I was hopeful about him.
Seems like it. I don't hear anything about that show still being in development. And that bummed me out because certainly I love everything he's done in the Star Trek world. And plus,
I've met him a couple of times.
solution.
He's fantastic, and he talks a great game as well about Trek.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I wasn't, when I heard it was a Cannes show, I was like, okay. I mean, you don't know how that could go. It could be great, but the fact that he was involved gave me such solace, because he's definitely a Trek guy. Like, from how far back?
Absolutely.
Not that these aren't Trek people. They're obviously all huge fans. I just think they're trying something that's not for me.
Well, and also I think they're trying to do what is the current television model of one story per season, the big story. They just don't do it well. And I'm sorry to say that in both the cases of Discovery and Picard, they don't do it well. It's like, give up, man. Go, give us a procedural. Give us a problem of the week.
It's certainly worth a try. Yeah.
But now let's go back to your comic stuff, man. I appreciated the Star Trek interlude there, but no, let's talk about like DC Bombshells. That's obviously that had to be home cooking for you in terms of how many issues of that did you get to do?
I only did I was only on the first issue of Bombshells. I had just come off Midnighter. I did Grayson most when I was at DC. Most what I did was Grayson.
We'll talk about Grayson. Absolutely, man.
Oh man, Dick Grayson is my favorite male DC character. Selena Kyle being my other favorite DC character. So once I got in the door at DC and they told me I was working on Dick Grayson's book, I was overjoyed. And I was like, oh man, Nightwing is something I wanted for years. And the editor, Mark Doyle, who was the editor at the time, said, well, it's Dick Grayson, but it's not Nightwing. He's a secret agent now. And he's just going to go by Grayson. And this is a new thing we're doing with it. And I was so distraught. I was like, I just got in the door and he's not wearing the outfit. He's not in Bloodhaven. But as it turned out, my first issues were with a young up-and-comer called Tom King, who I did one of his very first books on the Future's End issue of Grayson. I wasn't the main guy. Mikhail Yanin was the main guy, and he's phenomenal. I was the other guy. I did about 7 or 8 issues, I think, altogether.
Yeah, but that's awesome, man. That's cool.
Super team, like Tom King, him, Tim Seeley, Mark Doyle on edits, Jeremy Cox on colors, top-notch stuff. And the book did really, really well, so that was great fun. And
Seeley and Tom are 2 good friends of mine.
Yeah, great guys. Seeley's mad, but he's a great guy. And Tom is huge now. He's Tom King, I guess. Lovely fella, though. We were at DC parties, whatever year, a couple of years ago. They do these big Jim Lee and what it was Dan DiDio at that stage would introduce everyone into these gala events. Like the Marvel party is great. It's in McHale's. It's a piss up. It's in a free bar. Brilliant. DC party, when you go in, it's like a lavish spread of like lobster and all this crazy food and amazing drinks and like dedicated bar staff, and the venue's beautiful. So I just didn't want to leave any stains anywhere as I was going around the room. I was just like sure they let me in. But anyway, Tom King was, when I got in, he'd had a few scoops at that point. So he just shouted across the room, he goes, "That's Mooney, this guy made my career." And everybody looked at me and they had no idea who I was, but they all knew who he was. So I was chuffed. I thought that was nice of Tom. Now he was awesome. He was hammered at the time, but I'll take it.
Am I saying your name wrong? Is it Stefan instead of Steven? I apologize.
Oh, it's Steven. No, it's Steven. He just probably said it like that. No, it's Steven.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Do you go by Steph? Is that a shortening, or do you go by just Steve?
No.
Okay.
Steven.
All right,
like that.
Cool.
Well, listen, as long as people call me, I'll turn up.
Well, like Owen.
Owen.
Owen spells his name, and I'm assuming that's a very Irish way to spell Owen and everything.
O-I-N.
Well, right, and if anything, I would have thought Ian, but no, it was like he told me right away, and I'm like, okay, we're cool. Yeah,
I go by Mooney, to be honest with you, most of the time.
Oh, there you go. All right, very good. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome, man. So Bombshell seriously, Grayson was amazing. I really enjoyed that series a lot, and I can appreciate the slight disappointment discovering you're not going to draw him in the suit. So, well, maybe who knows? I'm sure you've got to be an artist in demand. I mean, I know you're busy with your stuff, but I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll end up back there at some point. I was talking to Ben Abernathy there today, and he said he'd love to have me back. So we'll see. It's not a case of, as you know, just clicking your fingers and jobs happen. Sure. But I reckon I'll be back there. So Catwoman is the big one for me that I want, that I've never got near. So
that'd be great.
Femme Fatale thing. I'd love to be on that book, but sure, we'll see. Hopefully, I have a few years left in the tank.
Oh, please! I certainly hope so, man. Come on.
It's crazy, though. I mean, talking about Half Past Danger, this is how nuts I am. I grew up a big X-Men Marvel guy. And I got this big Black Widow book with Jodie recently at Marvel, and it's exactly what I wanted to do. A pure spy story, noir, real Widow stuff. And then I'm drawing this book. It was a 6-issue miniseries. It's phenomenal. And I'm going, I wonder when I can go back to Half Past Danger. And then I'm just checking myself going, like, isn't that crazy? You grow up wanting to do one thing, and then you try your own thing, which is that much closer to your heart. And then you realize now it makes me a third of the money that Marvel or DC would make me. But once you can live on that, and it's the characters that you created and adore, it's hard to beat that, man. It's hard to beat the satisfaction of working your own stuff and have people respond to it. Like you're saying all these lovely things about it. I've heard that from Brazil and New Zealand. People send me real letters about this book. Somebody made me a Lego set, a Half Past Danger Lego set from scratch.
Cool.
It's crazy.
That'd be cool.
Like that just, yeah, man. It's like, it's hard to top that, It is.
Is it in development? Because to be honest, I'd love to see it animated as much as I wouldn't mind seeing a live action Half Past Danger.
Well, that's the crux of the matter. It's been talked about for sure, but nobody knows. The 2 or 3 different studios that have broached the topic don't know how to present this, whether it should be animation or whether it's like a live action Half Past Danger movie. I don't know. I know effects have come a long way, but the budget there, I don't know. To do it well, I don't know. And then everybody wants the TV model now for the streaming services. So it has never come to the point where this is going to happen, but it's on the cards. I don't even feel like, not that I shouldn't. I'm happy to talk about it, but there's not enough to tell at this point that it's close enough to happening that I'd be confident in saying it will happen. I'd love to see it happen. Listen, I got a mortgage to pay. I love movies. I grew up on that medium. I love animation. I think it would translate very well. Whether or not everybody asks me that question, because it is quite filmic, and it would lend itself to another medium. But I don't know. And
it's the phrase I've learned in the last couple of years. It's also very toyetic. So
oh man, you get that merchandise going. Get those Irish action figures. You can pull a string and he'll swear up a storm.
Here's hoping. Yes, that would be great.
Punch a dinosaur in the nose.
So for Bombshells, did you just do 1 or 2 issues?
Marguerite Savage, the writer, who's an amazing writer. She was the artist. Marguerite Bennett was the writer. Marguerite Savage was the regular artist. Right. They had come to a scheduling snafu, and I was in the DC offices at the time, just coming off my arc on Midnighter with Steve Orlando after Grayson.
That's great. Yeah.
There was it was an arc where Grayson guest starred, and they did like a buddy comedy thing, which was actually great to do. But Marguerite then just asked me, would I be free to do 1 issue? It was Jim Campbell was the editor on that one, I think. So that was more of a stopgap. I'll just hop in and help out rather than anything. I wasn't never lined up to do a run on the book or anything. Plus the artists they had there were phenomenal and better than me anyway. They don't need me for that stuff. But it was that 19... that 1950s femme fatale kind of dames with their gams and all that kind of stuff. That's great. That's Rocketeer stuff. Like I draw that all day long. So yeah, I had a great time with that. It was a Supergirl. I did Supergirl, and who else? Stargirl were the leads in my story, and that stuff was great to do. Yeah. Characters I have never come close to drawing in any other respect. So yeah, that series is finished, but I would happily do more of that stuff. The design, I think Ema Lapacino did most of the designs for those, and she's phenomenal. They had some serious talent on that book. Mostly women as well, which is great to see. That.
100%, man. No, absolutely. Who's on your mainstream bucket list that you really want to crack at as far as drawing?
Oh man, good question. It's got to be Cap at Marvel. If I get Marvel, it's got to be a World War II story with Cap that I'd write and draw. Which nobody. I know Adam Hughes once asked him to do a World War II story that he would write and draw, and they turned that down. So there's no way they're publishing my Cap stories. They just say it's not saleable.
I hear you.
Guys like us will probably buy 10 copies, but the average comic book fan maybe not so much. I'm a big X-Men kid. I did a Wolverine book way back, but it's before I was happy. I'd love to get another crack at that now that I feel a bit more confident in my work. And Declan is he's basically running Marvel at the minute, so I'm sure he'll give me a job at some point if I scratch him under the chin, like a little cat. DC, Catwoman, all the way. Sure. Catwoman.
Yeah. I'd like to see you on the Justice Society.
Oh yeah, man, I'd lap that stuff up definitely. Yeah,
You
the
know,
old school Green Lantern and Flash, all those guys. Yeah, yeah.
I guess at Fandom they announced that there's going to be an animated Justice Society World War II cartoon. So there's
Oh
hope.
wow, I didn't see that. That's excellent.
I didn't see it either, but someone was saying, and unless I've fallen for a hoax, but I think someone said that, and I was like, wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I mean DC they get a hard time, and you might say rightfully so when it comes to the film universe. But the animation wise, they are knocking it out of the park every single time. There's some serious properties going on there, and some serious iterations of Elseworlds type stuff that they go in for and put a huge budget behind. You got to recommend that stuff.
Dude, I just talked to James Tucker, who stepped down after 13 years as the guy who followed Bruce Timm as the supervising producer. And yeah, no, I'm like, God, what epic stories. And literally even that last one, that Justice League Dark, that had that kind of Elseworlds kind of ending to it and everything. Yeah. I'm like, my God, this was like heavy stuff. It was serious stuff. Yeah. It was great. So
some of that stuff is R-rated, I think. Like they're really going for all the different demographics and age groups. They must be making money off it because they're doing more and more of it. And I know I buy like Blu-rays and everything of those things, so there's definitely money in the hard copies, I think. But yeah, long may it continue. Yeah,
indeed, absolutely, man. Are there other genres that you'd like to do beyond the pulpy World War II?
Yeah. I'd love to do a hard-boiled crime story.
That'd be great.
Myself and Declan are talking about doing something together in that vein. He's got these books, Bog Bodies and Savage Town, the Irish kind of. He calls it the Paddy Wackery universe. It's basically mobsters, Irish mobsters, and he's doing really well. He's very good at that. So we're talking about maybe the two of us coming in together on something like that at some point.
That's great.
If we can stay in the same room long enough with each other without punching each other. We see far too much of each other as it is. Let's truth be told. But yeah, that'd be fun.
Are you guys virtually getting together? Are you hanging out like you guys in Will and everything?
Virtually, physically, you name it.
Are you guys okay? Like have they flattened the curve in Ireland? Are things getting slightly back to normal?
I wouldn't go that far, but let's just say he's turned up at my door with a 6-pack a couple of times when he just needed to see human people.
I've got friends like that we'll be in the same room, but we'll maintain distance.
We start off socially distanced. Whether we end up that way, I can't remember. It's usually a case of checking my phone for obscene photographs the next day because Declan, God bless him, he's not the most romantic fellow in the world.
Very lonely.
Be very forward with a few drinks on him. And I want you to know that, internet.
That's outstanding. I'm sure he appreciates that. This is fantastic. You're killing
I sure hope he doesn't, John. I sure hope he doesn't.
No, it's all good, man. That's hilarious. I'd love to see you do a Western, frankly.
Oh, man, you nailed it. That's my next one. That's the one I'm writing. So.
Oh, great, man.
Yeah, I've got a Western in development, as they say. So I'm talking to publishers about that. So if I have my druthers, that's my next creator-owned book. Again, the same problem persists, though. There's the people that go, well, who's buying Westerns? Now, Brubaker and Phillips and people like that are kind of bringing it back a little bit into the mainstream consciousness. So if I can ride on their coattails, maybe go with Image as well, do that kind of scenario, I think. But yeah, I've written the bones of my Western and I really want to do it. Again, it goes back to my dad. Matinees, Sunday afternoons, Saturday afternoons, just sitting down with an old Western and Turner Classic Movies, all that stuff. I mean, I'd lap that stuff up all day long. So yeah, watch this space, I guess. We'll see if it happens. That's what I want to do next.
That's funny you mentioned Turner Classic Movies. I was all over yesterday. George Raft Day. And
we get a different schedule over here to you guys, I think. You have the US version. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because they're doing in August, they always do 24 hours of 1 star. And it's really in the later years, they've gotten very inventive and not just gone for the A-listers, but like, all right, we're focusing on this character actor. And Raft was like, in his early days, was actually ahead of Humphrey Bogart on the gangster pecking order. And in fact, Raft turned down both The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca.
Oh, man.
And Bogart obviously made meals out of it. And it's funny watching Raft in the 40s suddenly having to follow Bogart and do similar movies. And
heartbreaking, I'd say.
Yeah, he's the head gangster too in the classic comedy Some Like It Hot with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, that's George Raft. And that's older George Raft, obviously. But it's fun watching 1940s George Raft. And there are all these like great exactly the kind of movies that you and your dad likely watched. Those programmers, as they called them, just like the Sherlock Holmes ones, but more like the Falcon and the Saint and some of these other
nice
detective characters. Yeah. And I'm a big Roger Moore Saint fan. And even
Saint, I love the Saint, man.
Yeah, but I do love watching the 40s versions of those as well. And it was George Sanders, one of the Mr. Freezes back when he was younger. He was the Saint and originally the Falcon, yeah. And it's fun watching him because they really are like cheap, B movies.
Oh, 100%.
But George Sanders is like such an A-list actor. So it's kind of, and he's young. He's very young in these too. So it's kind of fun to watch those. So
it's great stuff, man. It's hard, but it's like you can chew on that stuff. You know what I mean? There's so much atmosphere ingrained in it, and they're fully invested, even if the set's falling down behind them. I guess it takes me back to even a place I'm like 42, so I never really existed there, but I always wished that I did, and my dad did, so I associated with him, who's still alive and kicking. I'm making it sound like a memorial to my father here. My dad's around, you know what I mean? But that stuff reminds me of him, and it reminds me of that kind of cozy, safe feeling of being a kid, sitting in front of the TV, just in your couch, eating crap, and just having a great time. You know what I mean? And that's what I want Half Past Danger to be, and tick those boxes.
I completely hear you, man. I'd love to see you do a naval story too.
Oh yeah, you write it for me. I'll draw it, man.
There you go. See?
Absolutely. Sink some U-boats.
I'm telling you. No, that's great. And are there real incidents that you've read about or seen that you like to incorporate in? I mean, obviously there's a lot of fantastical stuff with dinosaurs and these guys fighting dinosaurs and that. But have there been, well, as you say, the Christmas Story, I mean, we are getting some flashbacks, and I wonder if there are any real battles in there.
Well, I was writing the script for this one, and I was reading up on Guadalcanal skirmishes that would have taken place in the patrol zones where John or somebody of that rank would have been on patrol. And I was like, do I include a direct reference to this? But then I say, how disrespectful is that to people? Weird crap, like if American soldiers would die there, how disrespectful is that to the families? So we're never going to read this book, but somebody might go, well, listen, you don't put somebody's name in there if he was really on duty or on tour or whatever there. So that's something, not to give you the boring answer, but I kind of steer a little bit clear of that then because of it. The real scenario and the real weapons and the real amount of guys in the squad and everything else, but nothing too on the nose where I would say. I mean, when the bad guy is revealed, the volume 3 of Half Past Danger, which will be out, I don't know whether it'll be a year or two from now, is written, and it reveals the series, the overarching villain of the series, even that's getting a little bit close to the bone because it's a real person, a real villain of history. And then how far can you cartoon that, or how seriously do you take somebody who did kill hundreds of thousands of people? No question. So yeah, it's a weird line to skirt because Half Past Danger is, I wouldn't call it tongue in cheek, but there's definitely a lot of gags in there. So it's not what you'd call a serious drama piece. It's a good question though. It is stuff I think about.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, did your grandfather serve in World War II?
No, there wasn't a lot of Irish people directly involved. A lot of, there was a few. That's why Irish is kind of an enigma in his patrol and his platoon, because he's pure Irish. And I think you needed an American passport to get that far into the Marines back then. So there wouldn't have been a lot of pure Irish in there. So the character's mother is American in my story, so which is how he's fighting for the Marines. But now, obviously, the Irish troubles over here, you've heard of the North and the situation with the IRA. There's a lot of our family, like many Irish people who were involved in that. I don't know if you want to call it a war or whatever conflict, conflict, yes. But not so much from the States. And to my mind, the States stuff is just like a romanticized version. I was one of those kids growing up where everything cool was American. Now, trust me when I say that has changed greatly in my adult life.
I know.
Everything was so romantic. The American version of everything as a kid growing up in Ireland, Ireland has such an association with the States throughout the years, just because so many of our people are over there. So many people from there come here for our tourism trade is largely supported by Americans, and we're very glad to have them. And we get on, the countries and people get on great. When we go to the New York con or the San Diego con, people want to hang out with the Irish lads because they know they'll have a good time. They might pay for it the next day, but they'll enjoy themselves. So You know what I mean, though? So there's that relationship between the countries. And then as I got older and I realized how the world really works, it wasn't so much, it didn't work out that way. I mean, I still love so much about the States, and I love going there every year for work. And the amount of people I know in comics over there, some of the best people I've ever met in my life. But no direct Mooney involvement in any major US war. No. Interesting now. I've never really thought about that. Yeah.
Here, Jamie says he's happy and proud to be supporting the Half Past Danger Christmas special. Let's hit that third bonus story tier. What's the third tier?
The third tier is I don't know if you know Stephen Thompson's work. He came up. He was my studio mate. He's doing the Star Trek book for Jackson actually right now. The Year 5 book. He's been at Marvel and DC and various. We had similar career paths. He's drawing a 5-page story that I've written. There are a series of 5-page bonus stories that I'm doing the stories for, and then the lads are all drawing. So that's the third one. So it's actually, once that one is unlocked, it's going to be a 60-page special as opposed to a 48-page special. So it's looking pretty good. Of course, now I'm panicking my ass off because that puts the postage weights into a whole different stratosphere. And I've charged my flat $7 worldwide postage. So Stephen has to hope to God that he's not paying for the postage out of his own pocket. But listen, I'd still rather have that big fat version of the book that I'm sending to people, because then people will feel like they're getting value and more good stuff. And the stories are quite good, even if I do say so. I think they're really, really nice little vignettes. So Thompson is doing that one, yeah.
Well, and it's honestly, man, $5 for the digital, $10 for the hard version, and that's fantastic. And no, man, I'm glad you're doing it, and I'm glad you're taking things in your own hands, and also the other creator-owned things that you got planned, man. No, honestly, you're a talented guy, Steven. Seriously, like I said, I'm a longtime fan, and it's great to have this opportunity.
Man, listen, I appreciate the hell out of that, and it's such a pleasure to be on this show because I've been a long-time listener from way back. I mean, the book came out 8 years ago, my book. I was listening to Word Balloon before that by a stretch. So how long has the show been going?
15 years.
Whatever for. Whoa.
15.
Yeah.
So
and you're still in love with it? Are you still happy doing it? You still
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, I have to say that the fact that I was got the time to learn how to do video better has really been a thrill. And it's really, I mean, God, you hate to say it because I mean, certainly, I was working in radio, and I got cut loose because of COVID and everything, and not on furlough. They fired me, and it's just business. I understand, but I mean, I've really thrown myself into Word Balloon, and I have to say, I've enjoyed doing it, and it's been successful, and I'm happy that people are enjoying the programming. So no, it's great.
Well, listen, man, I'll tell you, I'm sorry to hear about your situation. That's a bad way for everyone to be. But listen, we are far better off having you here full time with us, because God knows comics needs more real, not that yours is a journalistic show, but you touch on that stuff too. We need more of those actual stalwart professionals, and you know your job, not to blow smoke up your ass, but you know your job inside and out at this point. So we to keep that going for as long as possible, please do stay the course when it comes to the comic book stuff. Well,
you're very kind, and I truly appreciate the compliment. Here, Joe Mulvaney, I believe, is joining us to say that he backed a Half Past Danger.
The photo variant.
Yes, the Mooney photo variant, but he wants to know.
Do you know what that is, the photo variant?
Well, I saw a bit of a description, but feel free.
It's ridiculous.
He wants a calendar. There you go.
Declan, this is Declan's doing. There's a photo variant of me as Irish, dressed in his costume in like an old matinee photo type 1950s movie star type thing. Declan insisted that if I put this as an option for people, that people would buy it. And I insisted that nobody in their right mind would pay for a photograph of me on the front of a comic book. But as it turns out, Declan was right. We've sold a few of these, made a few quid off this photo cover. So I thought my mother might buy one, maybe my wife. I'm not sure my wife did actually. No, Declan one. But yeah, no, it's crazy. But it's fun, you know what I mean? Declan, if people enjoy it, why not do it?
Do you have real life models for your characters?
Not really. Just me for Irish, and then my wife does a bit of stuff for Elizabeth Moss, the female lead. Although she's about 2 foot shorter than her. My wife is shorter, not Moss. But she's a good looking girl, I'll give her that.
Nice.
And then as far as my John Noble is kind of a pastiche of the Captain America archetype, so I kind of just go off that, what my version of Cap would be. And then Ishi is just every martial arts movie I loved as a kid. Just boiled down into the essence of this one silent but gregarious. Like he's quiet, but he's also super fun loving and super happy. So I kind of go a different way with the ninja character. But I mean, there's no arguing that they're archetypes. They are archetypes, but it's what I do with them. I think it's what you do with those characters and the scenarios you put them in, and that they all are very individual now. They've had whatever 20 odd issues of stuff to develop.
Yeah.
So it's the most fun. Like working on a book, I look forward to doing. Like, who looks forward to work every day? Maybe you do. I don't know, but
I still do doing stuff like this, man. Truly, yeah. I do enjoy it, and it's fun. It doesn't feel like work. It's
a cliche, but it's true. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I can appreciate that. And yeah, man, no, the joy comes through your art. And honestly, God, when you think about it, it is 20 issues already. God, we only have 3 months and change to wait for the Christmas special then. If you back this thing,
yeah, man.
To go. And
I better finish drawing it.
What's that?
I better finish drawing it.
Well, there you Well, I honestly, with a week to go, I can't support it enough, and I'm really happy that Deck made me aware of it, because it wasn't. I follow you on Twitter, but I didn't see you. I don't know. Sometimes we're not in the feed. We don't see each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, Deck is great for that. Like he is unashamedly promotional, whereas I'm the other cliche. I'm like, oh, nobody wants to see my stuff, but somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot. And he's great at that, so he's really helped me push myself to promote this a bit more. And he greased the wheel with you. I didn't know you from Adam, but I knew your show, but I'd never met you. So I'm so glad that he's got me on this show. I mean, you seem like a really decent fella, so it'd be nice
thanks, buddy. Likewise.
We get you over here, then we'll have some real fun, I think.
Well, and seriously, man, whatever's next, please, come back and talk more.
I'd love to. Whenever the next DC or Marvel thing, I'd love to come back and talk about it. Yeah, man, it's an absolute pleasure talking to you.
There you go. Or likewise, Stephen. Seriously, thank you very much, and we'll talk more Star Trek as it comes out, and see if we
could do a whole episode of that, my friends. Get Declan on there as well. We've got Trek.
I actually have King wants to do, and I may as well promote it right now.
Yeah,
a rewatch of the original series.
Oh,
so
Paul wants to do that.
Yeah, and you might, and really, I mean, I don't. For unfortunately, you being in Ireland and 8 hours ahead of us, I don't know.
I'll
6 hours ahead.
I'll stay awake.
You might be getting a call from us. We're planning on doing it starting, I think, in September. So well, you might be in that. That would be great, because it's gonna be Tom, me, this noir film guy that you would love, Mike Cronenberg, who does a lot of stuff with Eddie. Do you get those Eddie Muller Turner Classic Movie things of the noir films? Do they?
Sounds familiar, I don't know. The name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, Eddie Muller is the TCM host, but Mike works with him on a magazine called Noir City, and helps the Noir City Foundation it's a traveling film festival of lost noir films and stuff. It's fantastic.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the three of us and Franco from Art and Franco from Tiny Titans. He's a hardcore Star Trek guy as well. I don't know if you've met him in any of the DC retreats.
No, I'd love to, but no.
Oh no, you'd like Franco. He's a good man. But yeah, man. So all right. Well, there you go. Consider that. You might be getting an email from me about.
Fire away! You'll be dragging you down.
It's good to get the international opinion of all this stuff, though, too, man. So, all right, all the best, Stephen. I appreciate you coming out.
Thanks a million, John. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for watching Word Balloon today. It was hilarious. There we go. We got a nice new connection and stuff. Half Past Danger, the Christmas special. It is available on Kickstarter. And there's just a week left, so do promote it, or I should say, do back it. Also promote it if you like what you see. Let everybody know on social media, and let's put Steve and company over the top so we get that extra 12 pages. As I always like to end these things with, thank you very much. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.